Michigan high school student Jordan DeMay was contacted by a woman on Instagram by the name of Danny Roberts. The two talked for weeks, and eventually Danny talked Jordan into sending her explicit images of himself, which he ultimately did. However, shortly after, Danny, who was actually Samuel Ogoshi, a 22-year-old Nigerian scammer, demanded Jordan to send him $1,000 or he would post the photos all over the internet until they went viral. Jordan sent the only money he had, which was $300. But this wasn't good enough for Samuel. He then threatened to send the explicit images to his family and friends if he didn't send the additional $700. Tragically, the next morning, Jordan was found dead of a gunshot wound on March 25, 2022. Samuel was one of 3 men, all from Lagos, Nigeria, who were arrested and accused of extorting more than 100 young men and teenage boys in the United States. All 3 men have been charged and are awaiting extradition to the U.S.
This is the disturbing case of the body at the bottom of the pool. In 2011, 36-year-old Marie Joseph was enjoying a day out at a local swimming pool in Massachusetts. During the day, she actually went down a water slide and collided with a little boy. She had seemingly hit her head, and the boy decided to go and tell some lifeguards what happened. He actually told 2 separate lifeguards. The first one told him that he was on his break, and the second lifeguard just evidently did not follow this up. Marie's body lay on the bottom of the pool for 2 entire days. Marie's boyfriend reported that he felt like something was wrong when she was just not returning his calls or texts. What about the friends that Marie had been with at the pool that day? They realized she wasn't there anymore and they just presumed that she'd left and gone home. 2 health inspectors reportedly visited the pool and found that the water was incredibly cloudy. They believe that this played a major role in why her body was undiscovered, just laying under the water for days.
Hey, my name is Henry Louis Wallace. I took my first life in 1990. I murdered high school student Tashonda Bethia before dumping her body in a lake in my South Carolina hometown. I soon relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina, becoming a manager at a Taco Bell. I began a series of horrific murders in 1992, sexually assaulting and strangling several young women, many of whom worked with me at Taco Bell. In September 1993, I followed co-worker Michelle Stinson to her apartment, raping and strangling her in front of her oldest son. Police finally warned East Charlotte residents that a serial killer was targeting young black women in March 1994. Despite this, I managed to sneak in to rob and strangle Deborah Ann Slaughter, who had been my girlfriend's co-worker. I raped, strangled, and stabbed her 38 times before taking money from the apartment for drugs. I was arrested on March 13th, 1994, one day after Deborah Ann Slaughter's body was found. I confessed to having murdered 11 women. My case caused uproar in the Charlotte community, with many accusing police of neglecting the murders because the victims were all young, black women. On January 7th, 1997, I was found guilty of 9 murders and handed 9 death sentences. I still remain on death row to this day.
It's newly found video of Alex Murdaugh's son Paul with his girlfriend.
I'm coming to England and I'll be there and I'm gonna learn the accent and I'm gonna learn how to work it and me and my boy gonna have a good time.
Paul was drunk at a luxury resort in the Bahamas. He met 2 English guys at this waterfront bar.
We was just having fun partying. He was a nice lad. We got on with him like a house on fire.
Adam Pink and Max Burton are TikTok celebrities who post hilarious videos of their lives as bricklayers.
Oh! Whoa!
They kept in touch with Paul Murdaugh, and in hindsight, some of what he told them is chilling. An invitation to join him on the family's boat.
She said to us, you need to come to South Carolina and come out on the boat.
A haunting thing to say, given the accusations that Paul killed a 19-year-old woman while driving a boat under the influence. Did you ever hear about the boat crash?
No. We never had any inkling whatsoever of any of the tragedy, whatsoever. He never said anything to us.
In August 2019, he asked his English friends to take down this video. Me and that girl in it are no longer dating and are not supposed to have any contact. Thanks, he texted. Then in May 2021, Paul texted he was coming to England. We need to plan a time. For real, man. You're going to put me on the UK ladies. It was his final text to them. Just a few weeks later, Paul and his mom were murdered by Alex Murdoch, now serving 2 life sentences.
It was utter disbelief, to be honest. It didn't seem real. It still doesn't really to us, does it?
Nah.
Stewie. Yeah? It's not your fault. What? It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault. I know.
The woman you just saw in that video, Sarah Stewart, and her husband Christopher Stewart have been arrested, and they are facing charges after their 6-year-old son died from a Benadryl overdose. So on social media, Sarah seems like the happiest, nicest mom around. She has tons of videos on her page, which is still up, by the way. And if you were to look at her page and scroll back a little bit, she would seem completely normal. Well, until she started posting these weird, sad, cryptic posts a few months ago. Posts like this one. Well, as it turns out, on October 30th, 2022, the day before Halloween, the police were called to their home. They claimed at the time that their 6-year-old son had fell off of a recliner, hit his head on a hard floor, and suffered an immediate seizure. That day, their child was transported to the hospital. He survived and held on a little bit longer, but he died later that night. When a search warrant was served on the couple's home, though, they discovered some disturbing things. Apparently, the family and the child were living in filthy conditions, and there had been past child abuse allegations against the parents. An autopsy of their son even showed that there were bruises on his body that were still healing at the time of his death. And the autopsy also revealed something disturbing. Their son hadn't died from falling and hitting his head on the floor. He died from a Benadryl overdose, which, if you know anything about Benadryl, is extremely hard to do. The authorities even said that their son had enough Benadryl in his body to kill a full-grown man. And after their arrest, the parents even said that they would give their son Benadryl if he was being hyperactive. It's just crazy to go on her page and see the post that she made before she was arrested. It's a crazy, crazy story. And hopefully there are some serious sentences handed out here. I know Sarah has been charged with homicide. Her husband has been charged with child neglect, but this is just a tragic story for everybody involved. This man, Ronnie McNutt, went on Facebook Live and live streamed his own death. So this is Ronnie McNutt. And on August 31st, 2020, this 33-year-old started a Facebook live stream. Now, Ronnie was a military veteran. He had served time in the United States Army Reserve and had spent time in Iraq. At the time of his death, Ronnie actually worked at a Toyota plant in Mississippi, but he suffered from a number of mental health conditions like depression and PTSD. The PTSD being a direct consequence of his time served in Iraq. So shortly before his death, Ronnie had broken up with his girlfriend, which caused him to spiral. And it was a combination of all of these mental health disorders and recent events in the world that led Ronnie to start that stream. So at the beginning, the stream seemed pretty normal, and one friend named Joshua Steen joined in to see what Ronnie was up to. But he became alarmed when he noticed that Ronnie was visibly intoxicated and holding a gun. So during this stream, multiple people tried to reach out to Facebook to get them to cut off the stream. But it wasn't until hours after Ronnie had taken his own life when Facebook responded with this callous message, stating they had worked with experts to figure out how to best help Ronnie, and that the post would remain on Facebook, even though it depicted the gruesome death of Ronnie. So in the stream, everybody's talking to Ronnie, trying to convince him to not do what he's about to do, but at one point he receives a phone call from his ex-girlfriend. They argued over the phone, then she ended the call on Ronnie, and that's when he looked at the audience that was watching on Facebook, said, "Hey guys, I guess that's it," aimed his rifle under his chin, and took his own life. Now, the police had already been called and were at Ronnie's apartment, but for some reason they had waited until they heard the gunshot to enter his home. And tragically, immediately after Ronnie took his life, his phone started buzzing, people were calling him, and as officers searched his home, his phone continued to ring. A final message that Ronnie had left people on Facebook was discovered after his death, and it read, "Someone in your life needs to know that they matter, that they are loved, that they have a future. Be the one to tell them." In a really disturbing twist, though, users actually screen recorded the video and started uploading it to all sorts of social media platforms. And it kept popping up everywhere on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and yes, on TikTok. And all these platforms were very slow to remove the videos. Literally only a few days after Ronnie took his own life, the hashtag Ronnie McNutt had over 15.6 million views here on TikTok. And I have to say, the people that were uploading these videos trying to expose people to this horrific material are disgusting. This is a really tragic, sad story, and I hope that Ronnie is in a better place now.
This next case will shock you. Let me introduce you to Erica and Shanita. This is Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham. The couple is facing charges for the death of Serenity Richardson at a Charleston courtroom in North Carolina. In 2009, a 3-year-old girl, Serenity Richardson, was found dead. The cause of death was determined to be at the hands of her very own godmother, Erica, and her lover, Shanita. Serenity was on a 2-week holiday to Erica's house when the incident happened. The court heard that this was not the first time the woman had laid their hands on Serenity. In fact, they often had the help of a belt and plastic coat hangers. Every part of Serenity showed signs of abuse, well, except for the soles of her feet. When she became unresponsive, they tried to revive her with bleach and ice, but she was already dead by the time the medics arrived. The women claimed that Serenity had a potty incident, and that they didn't know that what they did would result in her death. As if the abuse wasn't bad enough, the drama that happened in the court made the case even more touching. The trial was a highly emotional affair, and when Judge Deidre Richardson read their sentence, the two women collapsed, screamed uncontrollably, and hyperventilated. Court officials had to pick them up off the floor and wheel them out of the room. Butt's mother also had to be physically thrown out by 3 court officials after shouting at her daughter to get up. Prosecutor Elizabeth Gordon noted that this was the worst case she had seen in 4 years of prosecuting crimes against special victims. Erica and Shanita were both found guilty of murder and will spend the rest of their lives in prison. However outrageous you think Erica and Shanita's case and reaction was, it wasn't compared to that of Michael Madison. This is Michael Madison, who is charged with murder in Cleveland. Madison was an American convicted serial killer and sex offender from East Cleveland, Ohio. The story of Michael is not for the faint of heart. In 2013, Michael was arrested for the murders of at least 3 women over a 9-month period in 2012 and 2013. Michael was born on October 15, 1977, to Diane Madison and John Baldwin. He was the product of an accidental pregnancy, and his father denied that he was his son and had no contact with him. Michael had a tough life growing up. He had a severely abusive mother, and her boyfriends also abused him. Michael later admitted that he had mixed feelings over his mother's death. On July 19, 2013, the police received reports of a foul odor coming from a garage leased to Michael. When they investigated,
where's the knife at? Come here.
I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. It's something not. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty good. I am fighting, Mom. I'm so sorry.
It was January of 2023 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when police responded to the disturbing scene you just witnessed. Paramedics had already arrived and were tending to a 9-year-old boy with stab wounds to his chest. While all was initially chaos, screaming, and desperation, the victim's 12-year-old sister cleared things up for police with a shocking confession. She was responsible for her brother's injuries. While waiting to learn the fate of the innocent young victim, the police would spend the rest of the night trying to make sense of such an incomprehensible situation. Please note that due to the ages of both victim and suspect, names have been redacted to protect their privacy.
Where's the knife?
Sorry, Dad. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. Please. I'm so sorry. You better pray to God. I am fighting, Mom. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
How old are you? Where's the knife?
I always left this in my room and I threw it out the window and it's behind the apartment right here.
You threw it where?
I threw it out my window upstairs.
Right up here?
Not right there. It's the room. It's the other room. It's right behind the apartment. This apartment right here.
So where would the knife be? On that side?
Right behind. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. This is something demonic. I'm
Hey,
so sorry.
what's your mom's name? What's your mom's name?
I gotta go with him. I'm so sorry. I don't know what the happened. I don't know what happened.
The girl appears to be in a legitimate state of panic, making no effort to hide anything, and she's very compliant with the officers.
I don't know what happened.
Come over here so we're out of the paramedics' way.
I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry.
Hey, what's your name? Seat for me. Sit crisscross on the grass, okay? Just sit there for a second. You don't have the knife on you, right?
No, I swear I don't. I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
Is there anybody else inside the house?
No, it's just me, my mom, and my brother. He's dying.
Hey, how would I get to the knife? Is there the back side?
I can show you.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I really didn't want things to happen like this. This sucks. I'm so sorry. I'm probably gonna go to jail. I'm gonna live the rest of my life in this.
That's it right there?
Yes.
Okay.
The girl takes police around back of the apartment building and shows them the knife, which is exactly where she said it would be. While one officer collects it as evidence, another takes a moment amidst the chaos to ensure that the suspect is unharmed.
I don't know what the I did.
Stick your hands out like this for me. Do you have any cuts on you?
I do.
Where at?
On my arm.
Which arm?
Both of them. My left one is just small cuts. Actually, I meant my right arm. It just has the small cuts, and then my left one has. I'm sorry. I don't know what the did.
Mom, and then fire and IMSA was. Hey, real quick, I'm gonna take you out of handcuffs and I'm gonna take your hoodie off, okay? That way we can see the cut that you have. Take your hood off for me. Is it just those? Those look old. Are they old?
This
Oh,
one
those-
and this
yeah,
one,
those are a little-
This one, those are old with like.
Do you have
This
any
one's the
new?
one that's brand new. This was brand
That's
new.
from today?
Yes. And it's so.
With the same knife?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a car.
Knife over here.
Stay there. I'll look at. Okay.
What's happening to her? What's gonna happen with her? Go to the hospital.
I don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
You go to the hospital. We'll
Yeah.
talk to you, okay? Go ahead.
Just be calm, okay? I don't know what happened tonight.
I'm so sorry.
We'll figure it out. I have to go be with your brother. Make sure he's okay.
I don't know what the I did. I'm so sorry.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
My daughter is missing.
What's your address, ma'am?
She's gone. We can't find her anywhere. I've called all her friends.
How old is she?
11.
Okay, what's her name, ma'am?
Carly, Carlie.
And last name?
Brucia, Brucia.
The footage you just watched shows the last known moments of 11-year-old Carly Brucia as she was abducted in broad daylight by a violent predator. Despite being reported missing by her parents within half an hour of her disappearance, Carly's case would ultimately go down in history as one of the most depraved crimes against a young girl. It all started on January 31st, 2004. Carly had spent the night at a friend's house, but the following day was Super Bowl Sunday, so she wanted to get back home in time to watch the game. She told her friend's mother that she was allowed to make the walk back home on her own and departed around 6 p.m. However, after she left, the concerned parent reached out to Carly's mother, Susan, and informed her that Carly was walking the mile back home alone. Susan said she didn't feel comfortable with her daughter walking even just a few blocks alone, so she sent her husband and Carly's stepfather, Steve Kanzler, to find Carly and drive her the rest of the way home. However, as Steve went up and down the route Carly would have walked, he couldn't find her anywhere, and that's when the nightmare really began. Steve continued to drive around for over an hour, praying that he had somehow simply missed Carly. But when he returned home and she still wasn't there, it became clear that something was seriously wrong. Susan later said of this moment that she instantly felt something terrible had happened to Carly, saying, "In my heart, in my mind, I knew." Susan and Steve left the house together to search again, shouting Carly's name out the car window as they drove down the road. They stopped briefly to investigate a wooded area and noticed a red tow truck drive slowly by them. Then they continued retracing Carly's steps and went to her friend's house to check there. And much to their surprise, they saw the same red truck parked out front. It struck them both as very odd, and upon realizing that Carly wasn't there either, Susan decided it was time to call for help. The frantic mother dialed 911 around 7:30 that evening. She couldn't hide the absolute terror in her voice.
911, what's the location of the emergency?
My daughter is missing.
What's your address, ma'am? And your phone number? Okay. Has she been missing before?
No, she had a fight with her girlfriend. She decided to walk home, and we've been driving around for about an hour and a half. And it's not an hour and a half walk. She's gone. We can't find her anywhere. I've called all her friends.
How old is she?
11.
And when was the last time that she was seen?
It was at 6 o'clock, Jean. Around 6 o'clock.
And she was at a friend's house?
Yeah.
Okay, what's her name, ma'am?
Carly, C-A-R-L-I-E.
And last name?
Brucia, B-R-U-C-I-A. She's just shy of 5 feet.
Okay. Do you know how much she weighs?
She's over 120 pounds.
Okay, what color hair does she have?
Dirty blonde.
And what color eyes?
Blue.
Following the heartbreaking call, police immediately issued a BOLO, or Be on the Lookout alert for Carly, and searched the surrounding area for 4.5 hours, but found nothing. Meanwhile, Carly's family and friends got to work creating missing persons flyers with her face on them, and they began handing them out the next morning. But something happened during this time that struck a few people as suspicious. Carly's stepfather, Steve, allegedly visited a local equipment rental business to hand out flyers and asked one of the employees if he could purchase drugs in a couple of days after this whole thing blew over. The employee thought it was a very odd thing to say when his stepdaughter was missing, so he contacted the authorities. Detectives also felt that something was off with Steve, so they brought him in for questioning. He stated that he'd been at home the entire time with Susan, which she was able to corroborate. After fully verifying his alibi, he was cleared as a suspect, but Steve did offer them another name, Ron Choquette. Ron was the owner of the red tow truck, and he'd apparently been dating the mother of Carly's friend for 2 months. He was home the night Carly slept over, and at one point, he was the only adult present. So naturally, Steve informed police about how he'd noticed Ron's red truck driving suspiciously around the area they were searching. Investigators followed up with the lead and spoke with Ron, but he told them he'd left for work before Carly left the residence and that he didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Moreover, his co-workers verified his whereabouts.
When the jurors were shown the crime scene photos, they passed out. Fair warning, the following story contains graphic details, so please be advised. On January 7, 2007, 21-year-old Shannon Christian was waiting outside of her friend's apartment complex. She was meeting up with her boyfriend, 23-year-old Christopher Newsom. The plan was to meet up at her friend's apartment complex so that they could both arrive at a party together. When Chris arrived, the couple were ecstatic to see each other. They couldn't even wait to get in the car. They had to hold each other and kiss. But unbeknownst to the couple, there was a car filled with men watching them. And in a blink of an eye, their lives would crumble. Later on that evening, friends of the couple were getting pretty worried about them. They weren't there, they were calling them, nobody was answering. People thought it was really strange because they were talking about the party the whole day. They were excited to go and see everyone there. Around that same time, Shannon's parents were also worried about the couple. Shannon hadn't contacted her mother since leaving the apartment complex. So Shannon's mom phoned a couple of her friends at the party. They mentioned to Shannon's mother that neither her nor Chris arrived at the party. Shannon's mother phoned the authorities, but they told her that they couldn't do anything about it because the couple had only been missing for a couple of hours. Shannon's mother, along with Christopher's friends, conducted their own search. At around 11 p.m., friends of the couple went to the apartment where the couple had met up. There, they saw Christopher's pickup truck still parked, but Shannon's vehicle was nowhere to be located. Around midnight, Shannon's parents sought out help from Shannon's mobile phone provider, and that's where they discovered that her last ping was at a phone tower off of Cherry Street. At around 1 a.m., Shannon and Christopher's family and friends searched the Cherry Street area and found Shannon's abandoned Toyota 4Runner. The front seats were pushed back. None of Shannon's belongings were there, and the vehicle had been wiped down clean. That's not a good sign. Through further inspection, they find an envelope. It was then dusted for prints, and it yielded a hit. The prints had a match. Lamarcus Davidson, a known carjacker who'd recently gotten out of prison. Investigators learned that he was renting out a house on Chipman Street in the Cherry Street area. On January 9, investigators searched his house, and what they discovered would traumatize them for the rest of their lives. There, sitting in the middle of the room, was a large garbage bin. In it was something wrapped in 5 layers of garbage bags. When they opened the bag, they saw Shannon's body. These are graphic details, please be advised. Shannon had been repeatedly and violently assaulted and tortured. I can't tell you exactly what they did to her. It's too much. The perpetrators cleaned her mouth with bleach and her other area to wipe out any DNA. That very same day, a few miles from where Shannon's body was found, they found Chris's body. Chris was set on fire and he was said to be lying down on railroad tracks. The medical examiner confirmed that Christopher's face and head had been wrapped in a sweatshirt and a gray and white sock was in his mouth with a shoelace wrapped around the sock and the back of the neck. The autopsy later revealed that Christopher had been shot 3 times, once on the right side of the head, once on the right side of the neck, and once in the back. Chris had also been raped by at least 1 perpetrator. Nevertheless, DNA analysis revealed the presence of sperm and sperm fragments on both victims. The medical examiner further determined that Shannon Christian was alive when placed in the trash bin, but was tied in such a way that she could not breathe and could not get out of the trash can. The cause of death was positional asphyxiation. Authorities had 5 suspects in custody: George Giovanni Thomas, Latalvis Cobbins, Lamarcus Davidson, Eric Boyd, and Vanessa Coleman. Prosecutors also had a lot of DNA evidence against them. Authorities were also able to obtain a timeline of events from the perpetrators. On January 7, 2007, the assailants observed the couple going to their cars, and that was when the 2 were ambushed at gunpoint. The couple was pushed into the vehicle and taken to the Shipman Street house. Both Shannon and Christian were raped and tortured inside that house. Chris was then later taken to a nearby railroad track where he was forced to walk barefoot to the tracks and was shot until he fell to the ground. All of the perpetrators were found guilty of at least one of the following: kidnapping, rape, robbery, murder, and assault. Vanessa Coleman is held at the Tennessee Prison for Women. Cobbins and Thomas are held at the Bledsoe County Correctional Complex in Pikeville. Lamarcus Davidson was sentenced to death on October 30th, 2009, and is incarcerated at the Riverbend Maximum Security Institution. And Eric Boyd was sentenced to life in prison at the Bledsoe County Correctional Complex. Please be safe out there when walking to your cars. Be extra alert. Rest in peace, Shannon and Christopher.